Welcome to 5 Minutes of Momentum. These episodes are a short 5-minute burst of inspiration, motivation, and massive action. If you need that little kick up the butt to get things moving and to inspire you to take massive action, then every single Thursday I'll be sending you through a 5-minute episode to download, digest, and implement to finish your week off strong. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I want to talk to you about fear and how it can show up so you can identify your fear response and be able to work through it. So often when we talk about fear, often what we think about is the big fear, right? The big scary fear, like horror movie fear, like shocks, like having major things happen and then being frozen in fear and not moving forward. But honestly, with our lives day to day, fear doesn't show up like that necessarily, right? It's very few and far between when we have those moments. And so I want to talk to you about the smaller fears that show up on a regular basis so you can pay attention to them, because it's in those small moments. It's actually like the small little actions that you're taking on a daily basis that creates the progress in your business and life. And when we get caught up in fear, that's when we are not doing the things that we know we want to do because of the fear that shows up. So it could be getting caught up in procrastination for too long. It could be not prioritizing your growth focused activities, which means you're not following through on that idea that you had, or you're not creating that program that you really want to create, or you're not putting yourself out there on social media, or you're not showing up and pitching to get opportunities, whether that's to speak or whatever type of opportunities that you really want to go after in your business. When we don't do these things, that's fear. That is fear showing up and causing us to play small. And often what happens is we just kind of like rationalize it. Like our brain rationalizes it and goes, let's prioritize this other thing instead. Let's do the easy thing with it. Let's just do the admin. Let's just post like we've always posted. Let's just keep doing the normal thing where we know it's safe and it's comfortable. But you know, and I know, that safe and comfortable do not get you anywhere, right? If you are sick of creating the same results week in, week out, month in, month out, year on, year out, then we want to identify where are we not taking massive aligned action towards where we want to be, and what fears are keeping us stuck. Because it's actually when you identify the fear each day and you recognize where you're not doing the thing and then you overcome it in those small moments, you start to build a habit and being able to overcome it more and more and more. So when you actually get to those big moments, you have a new relationship with fear and you're able to overcome it even in the big moments. But often what it is, it's actually not identifying the smaller fears, and we keep ourselves playing small because we're stuck in doing the stagnant things day in, day out within our businesses. So I want you to ask yourself, what's something that you've had on your to-do list or something that you know that you want to do but you haven't done just yet? And I want you to think on the smaller scale, like send that email, pitch yourself to some opportunity, reach out to that person, create that reel. Like, what is it? Like, what's one thing that you want to have done but you know you haven't done? Okay. And so once you've identified that thing, I want you to think back to the most recent time where you didn't do it, where maybe it came to your mind and you're like, yeah, I probably should do that, but you didn't do it. What did you do instead? So when you identify what you did instead, I want you to ask yourself what was running through your mind that caused you to divert from that action. Because we have 3 different fear responses, right? We can run away, right? We avoid it altogether. We run away, we do something completely different, right? We probably talk ourselves into doing something completely different. We freeze, so we get stuck in paralyzed in fear and we don't do anything. And that's where the procrastination kind of kicks in. Or we might fight, so we might get defensive. We might actually get frustrated, so we might end up blaming other people or blaming ourselves, or you might get frustrated with the tech, or you might get angry at things not working out. And so you build up this story in your head, which then means like, don't do this thing because you have all these other reasons why you shouldn't do that thing, right? So I want you to identify what shows up for you. How does the fear show up for you? Is it that it shows up like the impostor syndrome and you just talk yourself out of it, right? Like there is an arsenal that your brain uses against you to keep you playing small. And so what we want to do is we want to actually build up a resilience to that so we can work through the fear and do the thing anyway. Right? Even if it is scary, even if it's something that's going to set you up for possible rejection, or even if it is something that you don't know the outcome of, like it's the fear of the unknown, right? We want to identify the reasons why you want to do it, because the emotion is what's causing the inaction. So the emotion that you want to feel with doing the action needs to override the fear. Right? So this is where we've got to choose the feeling of the good feeling that you're going after to overcome the feeling of the fear. So it's like, imagine if it did work out. How would you feel if it did work out? How would you feel if that person said yes, or the reel went viral, or the opportunities came your way, or whatever it is, right? Imagine if it did work out. How would that feel? Now, is that worth overcoming a little bit of fear to take the action? Majority of the time, I'm hoping the answer will be yes. But often what happens is we get so caught up in the fear, and then we just let our fear take over and drive, and then we go and do the procrastination, or we go get caught up in distracting ourselves with something else, right? Whereas when we identify it and we go, oh, that's my behavior, that's my self-sabotaging behavior where I get stuck in the fear and then I avoid it, I talk myself out of it, I go and distract myself, I procrastinate. Like when you know your behavior, the next time you want to interrupt that behavior, and I want you to ask yourself, if I did this and it worked out, how would I feel? And is that worth doing? And ideally what you want to do is go, is it okay for me to feel this fear, that uncomfortable feeling of fear, and do it anyway? And this is what I mean by coaching yourself through it. So when you identify it, you work through it, you coach yourself through it, and you do it. And then it's about building a habit into actually doing the thing, doing those hard things, and proving to yourself that you're super capable of doing these hard things. And the more you do it, the more proof you have, the more evidence that it's safe, the more evidence that your brain goes, oh, I know what we do. We don't actually peter to the fear. We recognize it and then we still do the thing, right? It becomes this new habit of behavior. So if you want to do things differently this year, start with the small things, right? Don't just think, oh, I'll overcome the fear when this big thing happens. Start with the small day-to-day things, the week-to-week things, because those are the things that are going to make the biggest difference in your business. If you overcome that fear of procrastination, that fear of doing that scary thing each day, and you do that again and again and again, imagine what will be possible in a month. Imagine what will be possible in 3 months. Imagine what will be possible in 6 months and 12 months. Like your next year will be incredible. So I challenge you to overcome that fear by asking yourself, what would happen if it worked out?